Okay, today I want to show you something that I'm pretty happy about. Might seem kind of dumb, but there's a reason I'm happy with it. So here we've got my bandsaw. It's a Grizzly 17-inch. I've had this thing for years. I love it. The thing I don't love is it's really heavy, and I have a really small shop, so everything has to be mobile. I have to be able to move everything around. And several years ago, I took an old, I think the brand was HTC mobile base that I had for my lunchbox planer, and I put my bandsaw on top of it, which wasn't a very good idea because that mobile base was not rated for this kind of weight. This thing weighs almost 400 pounds. And so what it ended up doing was, over time, the wheels, because with that particular one, to make it stationary, the wheels kind of tilt out, and then when you go to move it around, they get tilted back in place, and the shaft that holds those casters in place bent, and so you couldn't hardly move it. Anyway, I took that off, and at my local cabinet supply shop, they had a bunch of, they were branded Jet, but it was still HTC, mobile bases designed for Jet tools. And they had several that didn't sell, and so I got one for like, I want to say 25, 50 bucks, something, when they were normally going for like 120. So it was a pretty good deal, and I thought it was going to fit just right, because the measurements were really, really close. Well, it turned out it was about 1/8 of an inch too narrow for the base of my bandsaw, so I wasn't able to make it fit. At least not direct from the store, I wasn't able to make it fit. But one thing I've been wanting to learn is how to weld. My two oldest boys are taking welding in high school, and I got a little bonus I wasn't planning on from work, so I bought a little stick welder, and then my boys have been giving me lessons. Now, obviously, I'm not very good yet, but I thought, here's an opportunity. I can modify this base so that it will fit my saw, and so that's what I did. So I want to show you the modification. All right, so here is the bandsaw in place. This is the factory corner, and here is my modified corner. So I made a pretty big change. Basically, on this side, I cut the base here, and then cut it off even with that plate that's on the bottom, and then cut it off in the back. And then this piece of rectangular tube steel, I split it in half so that I could keep the half that the wheel was on, because I didn't want to try to cut that off and weld it back in place. So on this side, I got a piece of angle iron. I think it's 1.5 inches by 1/8 maybe. Welded that in place at the front, and what you can't see is it's also welded along that plate that's on the bottom. I added this little scrap here just to kind of strengthen this corner, then welded it together on the back, and what you can't really see is there's another little scrap there at the corner to help strengthen that edge. Getting the wheel back in place, the other thing I had to do is where that bolt goes through to hold the caster, there's a little hole that's drilled in, like a relief hole for the bolt to pass through on what was that piece of tubing. So I had to drill, because the tubing, because that square tubing is mated up right up against the angle iron, I did have to re-drill that hole so that there would be clearance for that bolt to pass through. Once I had it all welded up, I cleaned it up, ground some of the edges down a little, and then got some spray paint that I thought would be a close match to Grizzly's kind of tannish beige color, which I think did all right. Spray painted the whole thing, let it dry out on the patio for a day or two, and today I rustled it into place. I didn't record any of that part because honestly it would have looked like a gorilla molesting a football. But with a little sweating and cussing, I was able to get it in place. Now the bandsaw is mobile again, but this time with a base actually rated for this level of weight, so hopefully it'll hold up a lot better. Like I said, not the coolest thing in the world, but I'm pretty happy with it because it was a good chance to test out my very beginner welding skills to modify something that I got for a pretty good deal. Yeah, it would have been easier to just buy one meant for this saw from Grizzly, but I would have paid twice as much, and I wouldn't have got the welding practice. So I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.